So, but with the
focus.
slower speeds on surface streets, do officers now have more potential to use a spike strip, for example?
You know, the spike strip is a great tool. The problem with it is you have to set it up ahead of time, and that's usually used when the suspect or suspects has a repeat pattern of driving on the same streets. Like right now, I believe he's possibly on Tahunga, heading
Yes.
back over to Riverside, it looks like.
Yeah, he
Yes,
just
you're
passed
right.
Riverside. Now he's he's on. I think he's on Riverside now, and this would be the Toluca Lake area, and North Hollywood / Toluca Lake, and his speeds are picking up as that street is fairly empty, and this does create a real element of danger here, right? Because you could have people crossing the street, cross traffic, people who are completely unaware that this is going on. One would assume the LAPD would have been notified now that they're in LA's territory.
Yes, sir. What the CHP will do is notify the local agency of jurisdiction to say, we are in your area, and you may have LAPD North Hollywood unit paralleling the pursuit or being in the area in case of a pursuit terminus.
Wow, he's really picked up speed now on Moore Park, heading eastbound, heading toward the Toluca Lake area. And do you expect that the officers will continue to stay close on this person, even though he is exhibiting pretty erratic, maneuvers there and going at high rates of speed?
You know, at this point, yes, the suspect is driving erratically to the point where there is an
this is a dead end.
exigency and urgency. But at this point, they're going to stay with it until it becomes dangerous to cancel it and go into the tracking mode with the helicopter. I'm sure the LAPD airship is overhead.
Okay, he's on Ensign Street, I believe, and coming off of Moore Park. He's now on Riverside,
Wrong side of
heading
the road
westbound on Riverside. You saw a near collision
Yeah.
there. And we get the kind of the impression he's kind of circling this area. It looked like he was going to try to get on the freeway at one point as he was approaching Vineland from Moore Park. There is an on-ramp there, but he sort of made a move toward it and then either thought better of it or just couldn't make the turn. So now it looks like he is back on Moore Park and looking. I'm wondering if he's just looking for another place to get back on the freeway.
Someone on a bike.
Yeah, this is
Scary.
kind of scary. The speeds getting up there. I mean, the typical street speed there would be about 35 miles an hour. He's now
He's
passing.
probably doing about 55, 60. And like you said, it looks like he does appear to be looking to get back on the freeway.
Yeah, he's circling, isn't he? He just made a
big
He
circle.
was just on that same street a moment ago. So
Yeah, now he's going back to where
Yep.
he came from, yes.
Yep. And we see this a lot with pursuits, don't we? It could be he's trying to find the freeway here, or it could be trying to find a place to foot bail.
Yeah, and the other thing about this area, too, is there's not a freeway on-ramp that's real accessible on that street. I know that street very well, and it's kind of confusing.
All right, and he's on Moore Park now, and he's heading eastbound. And this would be either, depending on what area here, it's North Hollywood or Toluca Lake. I don't know what the cross street is here. He's heading towards Moore. Oh, this is Moore Park. All right, this is Moore Park now that he's on. He's westbound on Moore Park. Again, kind of some of the same territory
Yep.
he has been covering. There is a freeway off-ramp. There are a few, actually from Riverside more than from Moore Park. And perhaps he is trying to find them, or we don't know whether he might be trying to find familiar territory. This could be where he lives or is familiar with. This pursuit, just to catch you up on what's happening here, began in Chino. The California Highway Patrol has been in pursuit of this individual for quite some time, going all the way from Chino and then ending up on the 134 freeway westbound and then bailing in the North Hollywood area. On Magnolia off the 170. Now he's basically been kind of circling through this area of Moore Park, Riverside, Magnolia, Tahunga, and trying, it appears, to either get back on the freeway or look for someplace familiar to hang around. But in the meantime, these surface streets, Michelle, just not the place that you want to see this pursuit happening.
No, we saw a bicyclist that this person passed just a moment ago. We've seen pedestrians. Studio City area now, we're told, and on Laurel Canyon as this continues now with CHP
Yeah, he's going to have to. I'm sorry, he's going to have to make the right on Laurel Canyon, heading back to the Ventura Freeway here. He's now northbound on Laurel.
And Bruce, even though he's continuing to go
Wrong side of the road.
Going down the wrong side here of that median, he continues to go down these surface streets. How long would it take for him to drive around on surface streets before this would be handed off to LAPD?
Now he's getting back on the freeway.
Oh, never
from
mind.
Laurel.
That,
It's a
that's
moot point.
CHP's
He's getting
call
back
at
on the
this
freeway.
point.
Eastbound,
they're going to stay
right?
with
Or
it
westbound
until it stays on the service streets for a while. There, he's getting back on the freeway now, so CHP is going to re-engage. But the Ventura Freeway, as you could tell, westbound, is during rush hour, and he's headed toward the San Diego Freeway.
Right, and he's going to probably hit some significant traffic as he gets closer to that 405 freeway.
Yes, ma'am.
It always gets really heavy there.
All right. It looks like he's trying to get off here. This might be Woodman. I'm not sure. It's either Coldwater Canyon, could be Woodman, but you see him. He is trying to get around the cars in front of him. And is somebody, when they're involved in a pursuit, are some of the officers, okay, he's at a dead stop right now, and this is where it gets dicey. Is somebody like calling out the different violations that are occurring along the way? For example, when he was driving on the wrong side of the road, is some sort of record being kept, I guess, for charging later in terms of the things that he is doing as he gets off the freeway now, going through that gas station parking lot, and now on I believe that's Riverside he's on now, again, going back eastbound on Riverside through Studio City.
Pulling into, he's going to be on Riverside Drive, eastbound now at Coldwater. Yeah, to your point, yes, the lead vehicle is concentrating on following the suspect vehicle. The second or even the third vehicle is what we call calling the pursuit, saying speed, direction, travel.
So then the second or the third vehicle is determining what the strategy is? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the strategy is, unfortunately, one of it's dictated by the suspect or suspects driving the vehicle. The other thing, too, the watch commander or supervisor in the field is making a judgment call on a minute-to-minute basis of this pursuit. And they're the ones that determine, okay, you know what, speeds are way too high. I'm going to have my vehicles back off. Or, you know what, we're going to let this pursuit go because the crime involved is so heinous and egregious that we have to catch this suspect.
And you just don't know how many people could be inside that vehicle, right? And that must be of concern to the officers as well, of course, when this person eventually does pull over. They just don't know what they have on their hands.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And, you always assume there's people in the vehicle until you know otherwise, but you'll see when the pursuit is terminated, that's why they will clear the vehicle, because people can hide. And with the newer SUVs and some of the cars now, they tint the passenger and other windows, even though, you can't really tint the driver window, but people do it. So you have to take precautions as an officer. There's no such thing as a routine traffic stop.
Right. And can someone tell me in my ear here, it looks like they're heading westbound. I don't know what street this is. I got lost for a second. What street are we on? Can someone tell me in my ear?
It looks like Riverside Drive.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue with that assumption until we know for sure. But westbound on Riverside, we believe. And look at how close he came to that car. That person pulled over like you're supposed to do, but the guy nearly hit him.
That's the nice thing. The public out there, the general public that's driving, they are heeding to the lights and sirens and pulling over for CHP at this point, which is great to see, because a lot of times people get confused, and that just causes more problems for the police agency.
It is great to see, and I'm sure you've seen this before. The last thing you want to see are people trying to get involved and trying to, on their own, block this person in and bring it to a stop, right?
Yeah, there was a pursuit months ago with a Mustang where a local tour guide, he decided to box in the vehicle. And that's something we definitely do not recommend. Get out of the way, let the professionals do what they have to do.
Yeah.
All right, and now he's right by that shopping mall right there off of Woodman. I believe it's the Westfield Shopping Center. And going through this residential area, a note to the people who are in this area and in this general vicinity.
Hazeltine?
Yeah, Hazeltine. If you're in this area, I see a lot of residential buildings here. Stay in your home. This guy, whoever it is, or woman, could pull over at any time, bail out of that vehicle, and head into your home, as he nearly clipped somebody just now, nearly did a head-on collision there as he was close to driving on the center line or on the wrong side of the road. Now looks like he's heading westbound again on, what else? Moore Park Street.
Moore Park, back to Moore Park Street. This is at least the third time we've seen him go down Moore Park Street since this pursuit began. It's been going in a very circular fashion in this area of Studio City, North Hollywood area. As we mentioned earlier, it began in the Inland Empire, and we're not sure exactly what time it began, but it came into our area here in the Glendale area where the studio is located just a little bit after 5 o'clock.
All right, and Scott Reif, we have 2 helicopters live over this pursuit right now. Scott Reif is in one of them. Scott, you can navigate for us where we are right now. I believe it's westbound still on Woodman, or on Moore Park,
that
rather?
at Moore Park. And yeah, and I'm actually at this street here. It looks like Van Nuys Boulevard. So back going northbound on Van Nuys Boulevard, just headed northbound slowly, and there it looks like possibly just running a light. And moving back towards the 101 freeway. It's tough for us to keep in sight here. We're just actually getting acclimated and getting back over the scene, or getting over the scene for the first time. So at this point in time, he's back northbound on Van Nuys Boulevard.
All right, and the traffic in that particular part of town at this time of day, normally pretty heavy. So he's going to have to really do some driving, and he's doing it, and it's dangerous. He's weaving around and really trying to get around all this traffic. He was on right there. He could have gotten on the freeway there at Van Nuys Boulevard. He did not. As we zoom out that picture,
Looks
there
like
he is.
onto the
There
freeway
he
here.
is. He is getting on the freeway, but he's going westbound.
That is correct.
Yeah, westbound. He's heading on the 101. He could, from here, get on the San Diego freeway, as Bruce mentioned, or he could continue on the 101. I think there's going to be traffic and heavy traffic whichever way he goes at this point. I think either freeway or or stays on the one he's on, he's going to be moving pretty slowly.
The last time he jumped on the freeway, he wasn't on very long. He was only on until maybe the first exit he got off, I think.
Is that a he?
There's a close-up shot of the individual, and this does appear to be a Ford Explorer, and which
Maybe
is
on the phone.
Right, could be on the phone, but it's the same sort of vehicle, coincidentally, that the CHP is driving that is pursuing it. CHP driving those fairly souped-up Ford Explorers. They switched to those a couple of years ago when Ford stopped making those Crown Victorias that were so famous that we've been watching for years in these pursuits. Now it's the Ford Explorer, an SUV that is in pursuit of another Ford Explorer as we go through Sherman
Mark
Oaks.
and Michelle, I'm sorry. One of the other things we've seen recently is with the advent of cell phones, is he get down
that the
phone
off-ramp to the
talking
405?
police, saying, I want to turn myself in, but I'm afraid. And what do I need to do to facilitate this? Or he could be talking to loved ones, getting advice. I've kind of crossed the line now. What do I need to do to end this safely?
For those of you who are just joining us, this is Eyewitness News Now at 5:30. Michelle Tuzzi along with Mark Brown as we continue to follow a police pursuit, now transitioning to the 405 North.
But it looks like now getting off onto Burbank Boulevard, and there'll be a lot of congestion at this intersection. This comes to a standstill here, and this is when it really gets to be concerning for officers, whether or not he's going to continue, get desperate, slam into other cars to try and get away. So this is where it really can get interesting and get dangerous for everyone involved. At this point in time, though, it looks like the light just turned green and making a right turn, which is headed eastbound now on Burbank Boulevard away from the 405.
Yeah, went right past. It just scared me.
South
A
on
minivan.
Sepulveda.
You could see kids in the van. It was just scary. Okay, making a turn now. What street are we on here, Scott?
Sepulveda Boulevard southbound, so headed back down towards the Ventura Freeway. Sepulveda looks like a good drive here. I don't see a lot of signal light congestion. If he continues on Sepulveda Boulevard, you can get back on the 405 freeway once you pass the 101, so there'll be some options as far as freeways are concerned. At least for the moment, it seems to be driving at a rate of speed that is about the speed limit, and we only have one patrol car, it looks like. Well, there are several, but one in the immediate vicinity, right behind the vehicle, and LAPD has taken over. They're overhead, but there you see into oncoming traffic. Certainly this individual is desperate and now making a left turn. We'll see if we can get that street for you. Not certain exactly what street he's on at this point in time, but we'll try and get that for you. So traveling back to the east now, just making that turn away from Sepulveda Boulevard.
Yeah,
On Magnolia.
Okay.
Eastbound on Magnolia. Again, the speeds are picking up here, and you see all these apartment buildings that line this street. People may be out, people may be backing out or getting out of their driveways or the cross traffic. This is a very dangerous situation, and a reminder, if you're in this area, this part of Van Nuys right now, you are advised to stay indoors. Don't come out and try to look at this. Just stay in your home and keep the doors and windows locked, because as we have seen countless times with pursuits, excuse me, they frequently end with the suspect getting out of the car and running, making a run for it. They could end up in your backyard. They could end up inside your home. We've seen it dozens of times, Michelle and I, over the years covering these things, that it just adds a whole new dimension of danger to these sorts of endeavors by fleeing suspects.
Mark,
Bruce, go ahead.
That is about this. It was just a suspicious person in a vehicle call, which is kind of a low-level call, but this person obviously has an exigency to get away. They traveled a pretty great distance from Chino.
Wow. Somebody
So there's
just threw
something going
something
on
at the
here.
car. Yeah, somebody
understand?
just threw something at it.
Yeah, because
I wonder if we can re-rack that video and show that.
just keep it in front of you more. Back off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Wow,
Okay,
that was
That's
really nuts.
something we definitely don't recommend.
Yeah. And Bruce, I think, is on about a 7-second delay, so he just saw that. We saw that initially as it was happening. But as somebody stepped out into the street, threw something at the vehicle, right at the driver's side window, it bounced
You see
off.
the
I don't know if it caused
see
any
the intersection, Rob, tell me.
real impact to the vehicle. Obviously, it didn't stop the pursuit. The guy's continuing on. Again, eastbound on what street? Is it Magnolia, did we say?
Magnolia,
Magnolia, eastbound on Magnolia, heading back towards what would be the Sherman Oaks area now. He was in Van Nuys, and now it looks like he's going to go
Hazeltine
north
again.
on, what is it?
Hazeltine?
Hazeltine, northbound on Hazeltine.
Southbound Hazeltine. And Scott Wright,
Southbound, right.
we're southbound Hazeltine.
Yeah, we are southbound Hazeltine, headed right back down towards the Bloomingdale's, the Fashion Center there, and the 101 freeway. So it's an exact same spot the vehicle was at just moments ago. We picked this up, sometime after you did. So I don't know if he's been in this area earlier, but this will be a loop that the individual has made now, and we've seen that several times in the past, where they'll continue to go into areas that they're familiar with, and that very well could be the case. And now we're making a left turn. And I believe this may be Riverside Drive once again, headed now just in front of the mall, which is a dangerous situation because it has so many people out. Now on Riverside, headed eastbound.
What was the street where the person came out? Do you know, Scott, what that street was where that individual came out and threw something at the car, the vehicle?
You know, I was not able to identify the exact street
Yeah,
when that
okay.
happened.
Yeah, Michelle, I think it was Magnolia.
Magnolia?
It was on Magnolia, yes.
Okay.
I didn't know the cross street, but it was on Magnolia. And certainly, we've seen so many of these things end badly, and every time we follow one of these, you just hope that no one gets hurt. I mean, that's always the case that you're worried about. There might have been a problem with the mirror. I'm not certain. He was trying to adjust his mirror, and now you can see the individual is just desperate into oncoming traffic, and I think we're coming up on possibly Woodman here. That may be the intersection of Woodman, and we'll see the turn here making
Look at that. There's a
would be
traffic
northbound
accident
turn.
already. Look at that. There's
Oh my God.
either a
Yeah, look
traffic
at that.
accident or some other people just sitting there waiting and maybe saw this coming. But two cars uncomfortably close together. This is right by Notre Dame High School, and
Ooh, they
he is
crashed.
now heading northbound, right?
Correct.
Looks like it based
Yeah.
on the shadow.
Right.
Yeah.
Northbound on Woodman.
Northbound on Woodman.
Northbound on Woodman, now back westbound
What's that street?
from, it wasn't Riverside. Okay, well, we're trying to get the
No, this
location,
is
but in
a-
the meantime, people need to be on the lookout in this neighborhood, again.
Okay.
used to-
because
Yeah,
it's a
here we go. I don't know
residential
if-
neighborhood.
Very
Yeah, it's the
narrow.
first time
Now
we've
we're
seen him in a
very
residential area like this.
neighborhood between Woodman and Houston. Looks like he's going to be heading back toward Riverside Drive now.
Scott, what are you seeing that's ahead of him? Do you see officers deployed or LAPD units involved in this as yet, or is it still CHP?
Well, LAPD has taken over. We do have some CHP, but it's really difficult for them to try and anticipate where the vehicle's going when he makes turns like that. That's the first time I've seen him go into a residential area and not just drive on a major street. I think we're back on Riverside now, traveling westbound. So we're headed back towards the 405. It's in a circle here. It's going to be right back in front of the Fashion Center once again. But that was the first turn I'd seen where it actually went into a residential area and then came back out. But it's very difficult for them to anticipate those types sequence of moves. If he stays, on Magnolia, stays on Riverside, and continues that pattern, they'll be able to set up. But through that little residential area, that'd be difficult. I think we're southbound now on Hazeltine, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a pattern we've seen several times, southbound on Hazeltine. If it continues, we make a right turn on Riverside like last time. Oh, now he's turning into the shopping center. So this really gets dicey in a situation like this underneath the parking structure, and that's more than likely where this individual will foot bail and then try and merge, or try and get in with people and be able to get away.
Yeah,
because the helicopter will not be able to help or support the ground units at this point in time.
Is this the Fashion Square Mall?
It is.
Yes, it is.
It's
And
the,
it's one of the areas that, like Scott was talking about. Well, the pattern is not, it's not going to happen now, but the other problem you run into now is you have hundreds of people there, shoppers, children, parents, and you've got to set up a containment, and you may have a dangerous situation that actually goes into the mall, which is something that nobody wants.
Boy, that is really scary. Okay, we just got some new information about the suspect wanted as part of a forgery investigation. And also, as we continue to follow this, we have that video re-queued now that shows a dramatic development at 5:34 p.m. when a person went out into the street and it looked like an egg that he threw at the vehicle. This was on Magnolia. There it is again.
Yeah, and on the left side of our screen is the live picture, which indicates that he is still on the move.
Back onto Magnolia.
He's still on the move, leaving the mall parking lot. He's getting onto Magnolia now.
Back onto Riverside.
And back onto Riverside. So he is not stopping yet. If there's any good news here, it's that he's a forgery suspect. He's not wanted for a violent crime. We don't know if there's any potential violence in his nature, but certainly erratic driving is. And as we see him here, this is a parking lot. I believe there's a Toys R Us there. There's going to be a lot of pedestrian traffic through here. There's a bank.
Oh boy, he's getting pinned in
And
here.
It does look like it's a single male occupant, though, at this point.
Look at him, flooring it.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness he left that mall parking lot. That was a very scary situation. What could have happened there with him?
All right, Riverside at Woodman. Now he's going dead on against a CHP vehicle there. There's a pedestrian out there that's waving at him. More pedestrians crossing the street. This is getting much more erratic. He is southbound on Woodman now. Again, watching this person kind of circling this area. We're not sure what he's trying to do. That's what it's so hard to figure out here. There's no neighborhood right here for him to foot bail in.
Mark, one of the nice things is you'll have LAPD will be flooding this area with units. So in case he does foot bail, they can set up a perimeter very quickly and take this person into custody without incident, hopefully.
Bruce, what is your message to these people you're seeing who are coming out? We just saw a guy a second ago, looked like he was ready to approach the vehicle, and then we saw the guy who threw the egg at the vehicle. What would you tell these people?
With the advent of live television and social media, people feel they need to get involved, and the message is don't.
Riverside?
Stay inside, let the police, let the professionals do their job without the interference.
Well, and you don't know if this person has a gun. I mean, it just seems pretty crazy to get close to someone like this.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle, you're totally right. I mean, don't get involved. Let the professionals do their job. And you may become part of the problem, too, and that's the last thing we want.
All right, he's now on Ventura Boulevard. He's westbound. That's the picture on the left-hand side of your screen, the smaller box there. And, again, the traffic at this time of day on this afternoon is going to be fairly heavy on surface streets as well. And he's now on Ventura Boulevard. Of course, as I say that, it's clear. But he's now on Ventura Boulevard, westbound, in the Sherman Oaks area, what we believe is a forgery suspect that is now being pursued by CHP and LAPD, running into traffic. And this is where it gets really dicey, is whenever he runs up against some traffic, whenever he runs up against stopped vehicles, he himself almost never stops.
What's that street?
He tries to keep going.
There's a woman filming him.
Right, oh man. And that he's now turned what would be south or northbound off of Ventura Boulevard.
The vehicle stopped?
Stopped.
Give me the street.
Guns are drawn.
You know the street?
It's Calhoun.
Calhoun.
Oh, boy.
All right. And so, don't know why he has stopped right there. He's getting out. He stopped kind of almost out of nowhere, and he is giving up.
Thank
Yeah.
A
goodness.
very hopeful sign
Yeah.
here.
All right,
All right.
Bruce,
So what they're
walk us
doing
through
now,
this.
they're doing a felony traffic stop where they'll have the driver get on the pavement, prone him out, handcuff him, or call him back to the vehicle. There they go. They're calling him back, and they'll take him into custody, and then CHP will clear the vehicle.
All right. Well, this is very good news, and hopefully there's no one else inside that vehicle. And, you know, getting back, you know, to that guy we saw a short time ago throwing the object at the car, I think it's just, who am I to say, but in speculation that people are just, they get really frustrated when they watch these pursuits. You know,
Yeah.
it
I mean,
angers a lot of
yeah.
it angers a lot of
For a
people.
lot of people, and they may cause accidents, which they don't care. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, now possibly someone's hurt.
Yep, exactly. All right, so they are still in the process now of clearing the vehicle. It's dangerous with the tinted glass, isn't it?
Yes, that's something that people do, and you know, you're walking up on a vehicle with tinted windows, especially at night. You know, your adrenaline starts to flow.
What is it? Can you tell?
I bet it does.
All right. Well, they're checking it, and their body language certainly indicates that they're clear. It's
Yep,
Oregon
there's the
license
4,
plates,
yep.
too. Yeah.
Code 4.
Yeah, they might even see them holding up the 4 fingers. It's not quite code 4 yet, and they've opened the rear hatch, checking it.
Out of state, yeah.
And that is that. Oregon license plates on this vehicle. We'll try to find out more about what spawned this whole thing to begin with, but it was first came across as a report of a suspicious person. Bruce, we want to thank you for your input on this, helping us get through this. And
My pleasure, Mark and Michelle, as always.
Thanks,
all right.
Bruce.
Thanks for tuning
Thank
in
you.
and for helping us out. So that is it. The pursuit has